Dembele, they were harsh on him on the show yesterday. Jules, you had Ali and Brian as well, saying, you know, the attitude has to change, and there's no sign that it will.
Yeah, and Dembele's a curious one. I mean, look, up to a point, I'm quite defensive of him, at the same time as being quite dismissive of him. And let me try and explain what I mean by that. Is that I don't think there's ever really been any suggestion from anyone at Barcelona that Dembele is fundamentally either a bad player or a bad person. There's no malice in the way that he behaves. But there does very clearly appear to be a lack of structure. A lack, perhaps, of application and seriousness, a kind of a lackadaisical approach to the way that he plays the game. And we've seen comments over the last 24 hours from his chef. By the way, his former chef, one of 3 former chefs he's had, who's talked about trying to get him to eat better, talked about trying to structure his life better, the timings, when he goes to sleep, the rest, all that kind of stuff. And it's just not really happening. And look, I think one of the clearest examples or the clearest indicators of how concerned some people at the club were is that, bear in mind that the manager and 3 different players came out publicly last year and said his behaviour or his attitude or his mindset has to change. Now, clubs don't tend to say things like that in public unless they think, look, we need to try something to shock this guy into moving, into shifting, into behaving in a different way.
My chefs do that to me as well, don't they? Trying to get me to eat a bit different, drink a bit, maybe go to bed a bit earlier. Look, this is Barcelona's problem because here's a young man that, oh, by the way, when he was at Dortmund, already had some issues.
Yeah.
So they took a big punt on a talented player who maybe they thought it was a one-off, and clearly it hasn't been. There are agendas, there are things in his head that the real top players get rid of and they go on to do the things properly. And then there's very talented ones who just go on to have a mediocre career by their standards because they just don't adhere to the rules and regulations of what a particular club wants. And until this guy does this, then he's always going to be a bit part at a club like Barcelona.
Meanwhile, for Real Madrid, a good start to the season, a great start to the season, particularly for Gareth Bale. How surprised you, Sid, scale of 1 to 10, that he was starting?
Actually, the fact that he started maybe wasn't a huge surprise, given that Eden Hazard was out, given that Zidane was in a position where he kind of looks at his squad and says, well, who do I put in? I was still surprised, but I mean, it's not totally off the scale, but the scenario is surprising. Although, you know, we've talked about this all the way through the summer, haven't we? We said that, you know, he said he didn't want to go, he was going to stick, and then the opportunity came to go in a way that would protect his salary, or more to the point, would increase his salary, would give him a huge contract, and Real Madrid backed out at the last minute and basically left him stuck. And once that happens, of course, you are in a position where you think, well, we've got this guy. And by the way, however irritated people have been with him, however much Zidane has been keen to get him out, this guy is really quite good at football. And so in the end, you have to find an accommodation, which is what Real Madrid at club level, at directorial level, have been trying to get Zidane to do for a long time. I don't think Zidane's at all comfortable about this, but maybe he's gained himself a footballer that he didn't think he had.
Is this going to continue now, Steve? This is it, isn't it, for Gareth Bale? He's got to continue putting these sort of performances?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically up to Bale to put Zidane in a position where he can't drop him.
Yeah.
If he's creating chances and scoring goals, then there's no coach on the planet who's going to drop you. So if he continues to do what he did last weekend, then Zidane's going to have to eat some crow and keep playing him.
Whether it's a personality clash or not matters not a jot. As Sid said, this guy, when fit and fully confident, is one of the best players in Europe. Now, if you've got a fit Eden Hazard and you've got a non-form Gareth Bale, then there's a big part of your problem fixed. Whether you say both of them can't play in that side, they can adapt. They can adapt. Bale can play, Bale can play on the right, come on his left foot. Hazard plays on the left, or you switch. So, whether you like him or not, it would take a big dilemma for Zinedine Zidane away because the player, as Stevie said, is making the decision for him. All he has to do is stay fit and play to his talents, and he'll get game time.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPNFC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.